Switch. Ah. Okay, let's see if it works. Hello everyone. Welcome to the Etiquette live stream. Just checking if the sound works. Okay, hello everyone. My name is Eric and this is the Etiquette channel. If you have, Elsa is already here. Hello Elsa. If anybody has, there's Christina. If anybody has a message, just say hi. But first, let me start by introducing Christina.
Hi everyone, my name is Christina. I have a YouTube channel called Plan for Fun ESL, and I basically invited myself to Eric's stream.
Well, it's for me, it's so nice to see Christina. So every week I'm going to try and get a teacher on here, and it's usually teachers that I know and that I've spoken to before, and I know Christina really well because we've worked together in the past.
Wow.
What did we work on?
Wow, is that a trick question?
Well, just for people that don't know, you know, and sometimes I forget.
Mainly we did the course on Zoom, right? We collaborated on a few videos and we spoke about online teaching. We did a very nice course on Zoom, like the basics. I wrote a little book to go along with it. And since then, the world has exploded about online teaching.
Well, it's amazing actually. So you make it sound so easy, but before I talk about that, hi Elsa, how are you doing? Everybody else, just say hi. Tell me how you're doing. Well, you make it sound so easy.
Hello, Elsa.
saying that we started an online course together. We made videos on YouTube where we collaborated, and you made an online book that you sold on Amazon. And these things sound very small, but actually, you know, today with this, well, the world going crazy, teachers have had to move online, and you know, be it through online teaching or something we've talked about before, but also creating materials and resources for your students, or in fact what we're doing is we're making a lot of content for teachers out there. So I think what I would like to talk more about and what I like to do is inspire other teachers to start doing things like this too. You know, we're not experts, but we're learning a little bit every time, just through trial and error.
Yeah. And some people have really good ideas as well. You know, it's a community, right? Sense of community, having to talk to someone who is more or less in the same boat as you are.
I think what's interesting, I'm going to do a video perhaps in the future about, you know, how we've changed over this COVID era, you know, these last three months basically, you know, all the skills that we've picked up, the ideas we've gotten about not only teaching, but also where our students are and how we can connect with our students. So, here we have, hi from Russia, my name is Vahid from Uzbekistan, here as a Gastarbeiter. What's a guest, I guess? Gastarbeiter is a guest. Well, I think, I want to talk about, I just said that teachers have grown a lot. And that is through watching videos on YouTube, that is through online teaching, that's through books, that's through creating PowerPoints and more resources that they can use online. But our topic for today is all about webinars. Because webinars, the amount of webinars that have come out with teachers helping other teachers or trying to get ideas, today we're going to focus in on that. And guys, if you have any questions or any comments, please add it in there. But I feel like there's so much to talk about. But first, Christina, I just said that, you know, it's crazy how much we've grown in the last three months. So what are some things that you've learned in the last 3 months that you thought, well, if you think back 3 months ago, you were a novice or you had no idea about it, and now what have you done in the last 3 months to grow as a teacher?
So, I've learned about Zoom.
I'm sure we all have.
To be honest with you, I was teaching online before the whole situation happened, but I was using Skype. And then a lot of people started talking about Zoom, and we got into it, and we learned that technology, and we started exploring ways to like transfer the teaching onto Zoom, etc., etc. And I think it has been really good. But now I'm at the stage when I'm starting to doubt whether or not we're doing enough. And is it actually time to look more into it, if I may, like explore this online situation even further? Because, you know, just before we started the stream, I was thinking, you know, for YouTube, I don't know, you started earlier than I did. But when I started, there was like a course, an online course for new YouTubers.
Okay.
And yeah, have you seen it?
Which one? From the Creator Studio?
From the Creator Studio, yeah. So one of the things that stuck with me back then is that when you create a video, the first 20 seconds are the most important, because this is the crucial time when your viewers decide whether or not they're going to continue watching. And it made me think about teaching. You know, in real life, you have more time to engage your students, you know, to make it interesting, to win them over. That's why we always talk about different activities and keeping it interesting in the classroom, because if you just sit there and talk for 40 minutes, they're going to be lost in 10. But when it comes to online, is it similar? Is it transferable? Do you only have 20 seconds? You know, these are the questions that I ask myself about students, especially if there are problems like with the technology, if they cannot hear you well, if they don't understand, if there is lag.
Well, I think it's forcing teachers to think about engagement a lot more. So those 20 seconds, it's about how quickly you can grab your audience attention. And I think these are transferable skills. Obviously, we don't want to have education where it's either you get it right in the first minute, otherwise we're going to kick you out. Obviously, we don't want that. We want teachers. We want teachers to get in, but we have to start thinking about it. Now, everyone, our topic is webinars. And my first question to the audience out there, not too many people up yet, but if you come up, put it in there. What kind of webinars do you look at? Now, I think it's a very good thing that you're talking about. It's basically teachers are learning now, you know, how to engage online, and the way that we teach too. First, you need to have, if we compare it to YouTube, you've got a way to get their attention with the title.
Yeah.
If you have a webinar, you need a good title to grab everyone's attention. Then you need a basic structure, because in our conversation, it's basically us having a conversation, and we can talk about all these different topics. But I think when you teach online and when you have a webinar, you have to have a basic and strict structure so that everybody knows what exactly is going to happen, with some added questions in there. So yeah, but there are so many things that we have to learn about it, how to have a good webinar. So let me ask you first, what webinars have you done recently that you can talk about?
You're asking the audience.
I'm asking you.
You're asking me.
Yeah.
Okay. So I thought about the web, like last week I was really into this topic because I had just attended a webinar that I had to leave early simply because I didn't like it. And then it got me thinking that I attended another webinar 2 months ago that was before even everything happened, that was so much more useful. Like, you could actually tell that a lot of preparation had gone into it. So let me just summarize what I didn't like about the last webinar. To me, it felt as if the speaker took a topic from a seminar he explored in the classroom and transferred it into an online webinar. It had a very attractive title, but according to me, at this stage of online teaching, it was no longer applicable. So the speaker was trying to engage the teachers by asking them questions of, have you been teaching online? Is it working? And everybody was saying yes. So he said, oh, you probably misunderstood me. You think I'm asking whether or not the technology is working. No, I'm asking if the learning is working, which got me thinking, well, if we have been teaching for 2 months online, you know, at this stage, we probably got the hang of the technology and, you know, the learning is working. So it felt a little bit behind times, you know what I mean? And then he spoke about empathy with the students and how it's easier to teach from your house because you can be more of yourself. And then I don't see it this way, you know. I think that it's a barrier.
Well, what I think is obviously you've got to cater to some of the you know, the basics. You know, you want to cover the basics to make sure everybody knows where it is. But you've got to respect your audience too to do something. I just want to quickly say that Vahid said Gastarbeiter means that you earn money for your family. And I'm improving my English when I'm free from my main job. Thanks a lot for your video. Thank you so much, Vahid. Usually we only talk about teaching, so maybe the topics aren't that interesting. What's your job? And by the way, in a month or two, I'm going to start putting out a couple of English videos aimed at English teachers and English learners. So maybe right now it might be a little bit boring focusing on teaching, but in the future I'll do something about it. Now
let him decide that. Let him decide that.
True enough.
I was going to tell you about the webinar I really enjoyed.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get to that. So, because I'll tell you what I've also had experiences with good webinars and bads. But okay, so the bad webinar is you felt like the person hosting it. It looked very attractive, but the content was outdated.
Research. Yeah, didn't do his research, didn't teach me anything that I didn't already know. Normally, I would like to learn something that I don't know or become better at something that I do know how to do. And it did neither of those things. So I just got so angry that I just wasted my time.
I know that exact. You know, I think every single teacher or any person can really relate to that feeling that you want to improve and you want to do something, but then you go there and you just feel like it's utterly useless. Like you spend your time, sometimes your money to try and learn something new to better yourself, and it fails. Now, so that was an example of a failure. What about a good seminar that you went to that you thought, wow, this is actually quality?
Yes, and maybe some of the teachers have attended this as well. It's ELTOS 2020. I don't know if it's ELTOC or ELTOS, well, it ends in C. And it was organized by Oxford, and I attended 3 talks, and I enjoyed all 3 of them. The first one showed me something I hadn't considered before in teaching in the classroom, and they spoke about virtual reality because they were developing a software, virtual reality software, they could introduce to the students so that they could have virtual reality role plays. For example, at an airport, they could go through the check-in and everything as a virtual reality role play. And they spoke about the costs of all of this. Because obviously, the device is expensive, but you could do it through your phone. You could project it on the board, and while one student was doing it. And I thought this was such a great idea because as teachers, we do role plays all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. And this is just taking role play to the next level, which is virtual reality, and then there is reality. And I thought, see, this is what I mean by teaching me something I don't know, or making something that I do know how to do better.
Better. Definitely. I think that's exactly it. You know, you want someone that can, a master or an expert on a topic that you want to learn of, and they share something that broadens your mind. And can I ask you a question? So, obviously, the ideas behind it are really good because it sounds very useful, and it does sound like that's the way the future is going to go. So it's useful for you to learn about it earlier, you know, than somebody else.
Yeah.
But how about the way that they hosted the webinars? Is there a particular way that you thought that the way they hosted it was different from something that's less useful?
I thought it was very engaging. Well, it was for me because I like that kind of stuff. So, the speaker had both, you know, he was speaking, but he was also presenting. There was a presentation. He was asking questions, engaging. So yes, it was very, very good. And the only thing I would have touched more on was the creativity of the PowerPoint. But you know, this is just how I am.
Well,
So yeah, and it was very, very like all the ideas the speaker presented about the next level of teaching. I think he's an IT guy, not a teacher. They were all innovative and new and interesting, and making you think about how could you integrate them into your own classroom. And I guess from moving on from here, now will be, okay, we've got online teaching. Where does virtual reality go into online teaching? Because, you know, like we've got the backgrounds in Zoom and in Skype. Maybe we can have an airport. Maybe we can wear a uniform and pretend that we are, you know, a security guard or whatever.
I like that idea of creativity, and I think that's what we need. So, hi, Martin, you made it. So Martin made it, and so Vahid says that he enjoys the conversation. It's his first online connection. Well, Vahid, you're welcome anytime. We love having new people. A geodesist for profession. Well, that sounds interesting. You teaching me a lot of new things, Vahid. And then Martin, so great to have you here. Yeah, we're talking about webinars. So we've spoken about some of the bad experiences we've had with webinars and some of the good experiences. So what webinars have you done that you thought, wow, this is really useful? Now, we spoke about a really good webinar you went to, and it meant that it had an idea and it had new ideas, and it also had a presenter that came from a different area. Perhaps he had a different experience in IT.
Okay, so it was a whole event. Like you could tell, it wasn't just somebody they called last minute to do something. It was a whole. There was a program, and actually there were many speakers. So I saw a few more. Now, I would like to talk about them because there's a contrast. Now, the second one had a very interesting topic, but he was boring as, like, the speaker himself was so boring. The third one, the topic wasn't so applicable to your teaching. It was more about your understanding of the brain and learning and, you know, interesting things.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't necessarily know how this would be applied to your class. But the speaker, charming, charismatic, just smiley,
engaging,
happy, you know, you just want to be there, sort of teacher, you know, presenter, teacher. And, you know, it makes a difference because it's not only your content, it's also about your presence. When you do that sort of talks and webinars. So the second topic I really wanted to follow through because it was about adaptive testing. I mentioned to you the testing where, you know, a student goes online and does an online test, and depending on the answer they give, the next question becomes either more difficult or easier. So it keeps the challenge just
That's excellent. It's basically that, like, it's almost like a game they play. A student goes into, they answer a question, and based on their question it gets more difficult, or it stays at a certain level. And imagine that, you know, I think with computers coming back into this is a little bit further away from webinars, but you know, it's basically you're writing a program to help teach the students, and I think that's a great idea. But so it's an amazing concept. But what made the speaker boring? Because I think what I want to do with this live stream is first I want to see you know, if you host a webinar or if you teach, how can you make it better? Or if you attend some seminars, what can you look for to attend a good seminar? So my question to you is, and guys, yeah, put your questions in the comments below. We love hearing from you. So Kristina, what made him boring? Was it just the way he spoke, or the presentation?
Well, he had a very, very long introduction about testing through history.
Okay.
Why testing has occurred, when did it occur? He had all of these historical images, and I'm like, come on, dude, cut to the chase, straight to the point. I need to go to the toilet, whatever. You know. So and that also makes me think, you know, when you're on video, do you really need 10 minutes to introduce a topic? Or are 5 enough? You know, we all know what testing is. We all know why we need it and why we do it.
Wow.
Just tell us more about what's next.
Yeah, or an exciting way of introducing it, you know, telling a story, or and I think, you know, this is it sounds like a basic skill, but I think it's something we can all learn from, is, you know, introducing the topic in a fun and engaging way, but you don't need to give a history lesson before you start. I think the other thing that I like about webinars that are really good is the audience, you know. So let's say every 10 minutes or so, or every now and again, they, instead of just waiting until the end and asking questions, actually every 10 minutes or so you can ask a question to the audience, and they can reply, write a message, or you can read one of their messages. And that's what we do in live streams. And even in some of my presentations with the students, I think I might encourage them to try and spice it up and ask questions during the presentation, instead of just a basic Q&A at the end, you know. So I think so during the presentation, was there during the webinar, was there interaction between the speaker and the people?
There was. He was asking teachers to respond, and there were some questions regarding testing, you know, statistics normally, you know, how many people fail tests and how people react to tests in general, are they anxious, etc., etc. So yeah, there was a bit of that. You could tell that this person was a teacher. Okay. So, you know, teachers do that in teacher training, that you have to engage the audience, etc. So he was good. But the thing he didn't realize, I think, was he was speaking to a lot of people because he couldn't see the people, right? So, you know, for some people, it's like talking to a screen, talking to yourself, you know, like when you make a video, it's much easier to talk to somebody else than to just speak to the camera. Right. Because it feels as if you're talking to yourself. Remember that when there is a webinar, it's the people chat, you know, they type the text. It's not like you have an image, you're speaking to someone, and you can, because when a webinar is a seminar, you can see the audience, you can see the reaction, the facial expression.
Yeah. Tatiana just said, a facilitator at a webinar means a lot. He or she can know everything on the covered subject, but being a poor presenter, he or she will fail at the webinar. That is so true. That's very true, guys. I think we need to be more well-rounded in many different ways. Not Of course we need to be experts, but not only experts, we should be able to convey that knowledge, and we should also do it in a personable way, to be more charismatic and speak to people. So it's in the past you could get by with only having one skill, but these days you need to grow in all these different skills. Now, Kristina, I have a very important question, and I know
Oh my God.
because prepare for this. This is a good one. Well, actually, so I wanted to ask this at the end of the presentation, but I'm just going to spring this in just to keep it interesting. As a teacher, what type of webinars would you like to see more of? And what do you expect, will we see more in the future? I think, because I think a lot of people are thinking this too. Guys, by the way, put in the comments, what webinars, what topics would you like to see more of? And Kristina, what do you think are the topics that we'll see more of in the future?
Well, I sincerely hope. Now, I knew you were going to ask me this, so I prepared. I made a list. So something I will be interested to see in terms of, it relates to the adaptive testing. Some colleagues of mine have told me that they have to start preparing online worksheets for their classes, and they've been struggling with that. Now, when we think about adaptive testing and online worksheets, it can be very easy. It can be easier for teachers in terms that when you have something online, it can be self-correcting,
okay.
Right? So I would be interested to see a webinar that explains about ways to do adaptive worksheets online. And, because if you can offer your students something that will be to their level, like enough challenge, not too difficult, not too easy, instead of just the same worksheet, how good would that be? So
it's almost like diversification, right? It's like diversifying the classroom, being able to teach every level, but now you've got a system to do that for you.
Yeah, exactly. And I would like to explore that more. I told you that for my school, I started drafting an online test using Google Forms. So now I'm exploring all of the options Google Forms offer so that I can have the test online being graded automatically, and then I would only need to assess the speaking, which will save me a lot of time. All right. So this will be an interesting topic for me, one of them.
Yeah.
And others will be common problems in the online classroom, because I think that the webinars I've seen focus way too much on the technology, or like being empathetic with the students, or like building a relationship, which, if you've been an IRL teacher and you have to switch to online teaching, probably you already have that relationship. You don't need to work on that. You need to work on, okay, I feel that at this stage, we know more or less how to use Zoom and what to do, etc. But there are problems now. You start sharing a screen, you stop seeing your cursor. And you're trying to have the students to type something, they cannot move the box where it should be.
Yeah.
Little things like that, troubleshooting and how to get out of it. Bullying as well online, because, when I search Zoom into YouTube, the first suggestion that it gives me is Zoom meeting gone wrong.
Yeah, Zoom fails.
So,
well, okay, so I just want to focus on this. Okay, so as teachers, or anybody really, what we're looking for when we're looking for new webinars, if we want to find something good, it's something that solves a common problem that we might have, and it's also looking towards the future, bringing something new to the table and advancing. I think that's very important. Now, you mentioned before that the Zoom fails, and I can definitely talk about that. Where most of my videos that do really well, it's about a problem that somebody has, so they go and they search for it. So as teachers or as people that make a product, the best thing you can do is to solve a problem somebody has. Now, most of the comments I get, so I get some comments, a couple of comments on my YouTube channel every day, but I would say every couple of days I get one comment about Zoom. Do you know what that is?
What?
Can somebody record my private Zoom messages? Can someone record my private Zoom messages? Because so many students are online and then they're chatting with their friend, and then their teacher says, I can see your private messages. And it's not true, but you know, a lot of students worry about it. So I think because now who makes webinars? It's mostly the publishing companies or you know, schools. A couple of days ago, 2 days ago, I was part of almost like a webinar, but it was more like a conversation between teachers, and that was hosted by like a school or a university or sometimes the government. So if you were talking to these publishing companies, what would you ask them to do? If
I would ask them to get current first of all.
Yeah.
Hire more creative people. No.
Yeah. Well, it's true. I think we have to advance, and that's what I always tell the audience, for my audience, because what I do is I always think, okay, how can I improve? And the first step for me was, okay, I need to start learning about online teaching because that's important now. And I think for us as teachers now, we should start focusing, okay, what is the next level? Perhaps it's preparing for not just presentations, but webinars, how to share our knowledge on a new idea with other teachers. I've got yeah.
Hello, how are you?
Atta, hi.
Finding good. Hello, yes, we're doing quite well actually.
Good. Yeah, how are you doing, Kristina? Just for like an interval, how are you doing? Tell us about your channel or your school. What's going on?
Oh boy. Well, as much as I enjoy online teaching, I would really want to go back to real life. And we are trying to open for summer school, but obviously there are a lot of requirements and preparations that need to take place. So we are exploring those and trying to prepare for that, trying to keep everyone safe, but at the same time, trying to get back to being social again, because, you know, for younger learners, it's important. For younger people, it's important to be together.
Yeah, I think soon, hopefully, everything will open up. And by the way, Atta, thank you so much, Yo. I'm doing very well. How are you doing? So I think, yeah, everything is going to start opening up, and everybody's so excited for it. But I think the one good thing, there are some good things that are coming from this COVID thing. The one good thing is now with webinars, they're probably going to replace a lot of the workshops we needed to go to as teachers. So I think in general, workshops, you know, webinars will now be done where you don't have to drive somewhere and sit with all the teachers. And even though it's fun to sometimes meet teachers, it's so horrible if you're busy and you need to drive around and go and do these workshops for departments. Now, my next question is all about, so we talked about how to actually make some of the webinars work if you're presenting. What can you do if you go and watch a webinar? How can you get the best experience as a viewer? I like asking you.
It makes me think about that one webinar you went to, and it was about Zoom, and you were telling me how bad the presenter was, and you were drawing things and just making fun of it.
Actually, I can show you guys what I did. Okay, so So I've gone to a few webinars, not as many as I wanted to. I started learning a little bit more about some of the publishers, but in Korea there's a group called Code Cecil, and they usually it's a teaching organization for ESL teachers, and I've been to some of their workshops before, and also to some of their webinars before, and it was really good. But so this one guy was hosting this webinar, and it was so boring. It was so boring. He is a teacher, but he was sitting there and he would talk about his son's experience with learning how to click and learning how to double click. And you might say, Eric, obviously he's trying to relate it to himself. That it took us 12 minutes to get to where they click. So what I did was I would just everything's on mute, so I would just change the background, and let me show you guys what background I used. Where is it? Here we go.
Oh my God, it was so funny when you were telling me about it. Goodbye, I'm leaving because I'm bored.
I'm leaving. So right before I left, I put this one on, or I would just put this one on, or, I would put on, I would just make stuff. And the thing is, it's not that I was bad at being at a webinar. It's just, it was so boring, and I stayed there as long as I could have, and I left. But, how could we do things different? Let's say you're in a good webinar. Instead of playing around like I messed around, what can you do to get the most out of your webinar experience?
Well, before I answer this question, I would like to ask the audience, please, to encourage the audience to tell us, what do you think about webinars? With one word only.
I
Boring,
love that.
Useful, exciting, interesting. I want to know. Because I care about the overall perception of teachers. I want to know what you guys think.
Oh, that's awesome.
Then I'll tell you my experience, obviously.
Okay, one word though. Okay, so everyone in the comments,
One word.
My mom's here too. Hi, Mom. So everybody in the comments.
Mom, good to see you.
My mom watches your videos, Kristina, by the way. She told me the other day.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Everyone in the comments, put in one word. How would you describe webinars? And Tatiana says, were you strong enough and told that man that he was pretty boring? I hope, actually, Tatiana, I really wanted to, but I didn't want to make it a part of me. So I was a naughty boy in the class, basically messing around. But I think it would have been better if I could correspond with them and tell them, listen, this is what you did wrong. So no, I didn't. I probably should have. And I think that is one of the things we should do is, if you're on a webinar and afterwards it's good, give some feedback to help the people hosting the webinar. If it's bad, tell them why it's bad and what you wanted. And, because time is precious, so we want the best out of it. Okay, good question, Tatiana. Now, back to Kristina. Wow, Nerea. Pedagogical.
I think the name is Nerea.
Nerea. Okay, Nerea. Hi, Nerea. Nice to see you. Okay, great word. What do you think about that? Pedagogical.
Pedagogical towards, I don't know, like the teachers or
learning about teaching.
So in terms, were they acting as if the teachers were students, or were they explaining the pedagogy of everything? What do you mean by that?
Well, I think self-immolation counts as one word. I hope not, Paul. I hope not. Paul is my younger brother, by the way. Okay, I think pedagogical, it just, we can use it as a tool to learn about teaching and to teach teachers. So that's what I see about that, is obviously webinars.
It's a good thing.
I think it's a very good thing. Obviously, anything that works towards a goal, even though, maybe some webinars aren't very good, they're still trying to help people, and they're still trying to, it'll improve something, even if they're bad, we're learning why they're bad and how we can improve it in the future.
Yeah, but you know, you cannot hang on to that. Like if it's YouTube, 20 seconds, oh, you're boring. Bye, next.
Okay.
You know, at least they're trying. It's not good enough.
Okay, but you're going to learn from that. That's what we're saying. And self-immolation, just people. I think that this, he probably saw this virtual background of mine, and that's why he said that. He's like, okay. Okay, no, but in all seriousness,
how to be a good participant, right?
Yeah, so how to be a good participant and how to get the most out of it.
Okay, what I normally do is I try to participate in all of the polls they make. I try to answer all of the questions they make, because at first I feel like in the position of the speaker, you know, if they ask an open class question and nobody answers, that's a bit mean, you know. It's like singing on the stage and at the end of your performance nobody claps. It's just mean, you know. So I try to participate in general. That's number one. And then I pay very close attention to the chat, because I've always thought that I learn much more from other teachers, like peers, rather than people who are like more or less on a little higher position than what I'm in. So normally I spot the comments that I like, so like teachers that I like, and I message them privately and try to become friends, because I want to, you know, expand my community and, you know, have a conversations with like-minded people. So that's one thing that I often do. I always look out for new friends, new teachers that we can learn from each other. And obviously, if the speaker is good and they have interesting information to offer, normally at the end of the webinar, they leave contact details or links. I obviously visit them and contact them. And I think it's a good connection to have. It's all about connections nowadays, isn't it? And
I think that's a great thing. You know, the great thing about webinars is if you can talk to somebody else in the audience and you can create connections. I wanted to mention one thing. I just want to say, Vahid says here, is it possible in the future live connection with you around me watching this video, co-workers, but nobody speaks English, so they don't understand you? Oh, well, in the future, definitely let me know. I have a Facebook group that you can join if you check it. Vahid, you can chat there, you can send me messages. You know, I love speaking to everybody out there. So, you know, and I'll put some more videos out in the future. I've got a lot of videos planned. Tetiana gives applause.
Don't mention seafood. You know,
just don't mention seafood. And by the way, guys, check out Plan for Fun ESL, Kristina's channel too. It's a great channel with a lot of good resources on there.
It's really boring.
But
the speaker is so incompetent. Like...
Yes, the one thing I wanted to say though, I think going to a webinar, to be a good visitor or you know, somebody on the webinar, a learner on the webinar, it's very similar to be a learner in class. How are you a good learner in the class? So when you start a webinar, there's a main idea. Usually the main idea that you want to teach or promote, it's related to the topic, obviously. But there should be some kind of idea that the host of the webinar is trying to push. And what is your job as the perfect learner? It's to help push that narrative. It's about helping that along. So how can you do that? You can ask good questions to improve it. You can try and interact with the host when they ask an open-ended question. And what you can also do is write down some questions that you have, some of the ideas, and then whenever you get a chance, you can put that down. So make notes. You know, if you were learning something and you put everything into it, how would you learn it? You would take notes on everything and you would learn about it like that. So that's definitely how I see being a better. I was a naughty boy in that naughty boy. Don't want to say that. I was a bad student in the in the other webinar. But if I'm in a webinar that I really enjoy and I'm focused on it, I want to learn, I'm making notes, and I think about what questions I can ask and help other people out too. And I think that's what I like about YouTube Live too, is a lot of times people put in comments to help other people too, or to help me improve what I'm talking about.
You know what I think in webinars would be good? You know, some of them use Zoom, right? So they use like a link and you join. I think they should introduce, well, I don't know, you guys tell me if you have attended a webinar where they have used breakout rooms. Because sometimes when you are at a live seminar or workshop, right, they put people in small groups to discuss what has just been said, you know, and how useful that is, because, you know, normally they will introduce you to some kind of new information or not so new, and you will have to take it in, and then, you know, if you share your opinion with someone else, you may understand it better. So if they introduce breakout rooms and put people in there to discuss it, it can work out in a similar way. But then again, we have to think about that webinars, they have a great reach of people.
Yeah, there could be anything from 1,000 people there, but I love that you bring out breakout rooms, because as teachers, we use it all the time, where we put our students into breakout.
Do you use it all the time?
All the time with my students. So you know, I get them to practice with each other if it's a role play, or answer questions or discuss things. So I think that's a great idea. So definitely with the webinar, it's just a couple of clicks. You put everyone into groups where they discuss it, and then when they come back, they usually have a lot of ideas and things they want to share. So I think
that's really a live section, and there's also an option of Zoom that it puts people automatically, divides them into breakout rooms. It's not like you have to do it like individually,
and the great thing is, once you bring them back from breakout rooms, you can actually see the groups. And what I like to, let's say it's a smaller webinar, there's 20 people, then instead of asking individuals questions, you can have you can ask groups. You can say, okay, in this group, what is something you learned, what is something good, or you can ask them specific questions about it. Okay, Tatiana says, but breakout rooms are possible only in Zoom. So obviously that's the thing. That's one thing to do. I think if it's in Zoom, you can do it like that, but not in the others. But that's why I love Zoom for the breakout rooms. But I think the focus of this is that you connect the audience with each other so that they can talk about things. So if they can send each other messages, or they can have questions for each other, but if it's possible, discussion is better between audience members, if it's possible.
Yes, because when you chat, time passes and you rethink what you're going to say, and it's not as easy as it is when you actually have a conversation. And I think people will be more engaged if that was the case, and it would be more realistic, you know, doing a webinar online.
I just had an idea. So sometimes we have a webinar, and then you discuss the topic, but perhaps what could be interesting is a post-webinar. Let's say you do a webinar where people talk about things, and maybe it's something that you can apply, and then a week later you get back together, or you have some place where people can post their experiences or their feedback, and they can say, okay, well, a week later let's have another webinar where we open it up, all the questions we've had, all the ideas, how did it work, and people can share their experiences from the webinar. So I like that idea of like a post-webinar webinar. Just by the way, Samar, nice to see you. How to make sure that students are working on the required task when they're in breakout rooms, as some students pretend they are working on a task while they are chatting together, eating and stuff. I'm going to add this in there. I know this one because this is an important question. I've heard it a lot. Now, what do you think? Kristina, do you use breakout rooms? Can you answer this one?
I teach individually.
Nasli! Oh, sorry. Just that I saw Nasli here too. Sorry. That was very loud. I'm always excited when I see the old viewers. Okay, Kristina, sorry.
No, I don't use them because I teach one-to-one. But obviously there is a way you can join different breakout rooms and see what is happening. And even if that is the case, if they're chatting and eating, remember that the students might need a little bit of a break, and then your activity is like 5 minutes. So it's not, when they come back, they're going to have to talk in English as well. So it's just a question of how forgiving, how much freedom you're willing to allow.
Well, actually, I think that's very true. Samar, online there is a bit more freedom for the students, but I've also had it where, so as a teacher, you go to each group and you quickly go in. But once you go in, they talk, and then once you leave, maybe they sit and they don't do anything. So you want to keep them, what's the word? I forgot what the word is. Basically, what's very important is the students should get to know you. After I have breakout rooms and the students come back, I ask them questions. I get them to, I ask random groups. If it's too large, I ask 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 groups to actually, if they did a role play or discussion, you can say, okay, quickly do some of the questions for me. So let's say they had to practice a question. I will say, okay, this group, quickly do a question. So they know, you keep them responsible. Oh, there's another word for it. They know that there's a chance that they... No,
accountable.
Accountable, thank you. That's the thing. You need to keep your students accountable so that once they come back, they should know that, Eric might ask us a question, we better practice. So there must be a reason why they practice, because they will be held accountable. And also, if there is like a worksheet, if there's some points they have to go through, tell them, give them structure. Say, I want you to go through all these points, and when you're finished, do something extra. So give them a structure, a list of things to do, and then once they come back from breakout rooms, you're going to ask them questions. Also, when you randomly join, like I like to join all the groups and quickly check in, ask them questions. Go in there and ask them questions. Tell them, listen, I want you speaking more. Just like you would do in the classroom if students are in a group. You go in and you motivate them.
Yeah. You learn lesson by lesson, step by step. Use a name randomizer. I like to do that.
Yeah, I do it random.
No one knows
who's going to be picked. What I like to do is there's a list of names, and even when I'm doing an activity, I would ask the students, okay, read this part. If I'm sharing the screen, I would say, read this part, read this part. Natalie said, yeah, I'm feeling very excited while watching you. Well, you're always welcome. By the way, guys, how are you doing? Anything special happening this week? I think... What? It's already an hour? That's crazy. How quickly did time fly? I feel like we haven't really started talking about the important stuff. Okay, I think we've got like a couple of minutes left. So, Kristina, what are some... Samari, I hope that helped. If I have more ideas in the future, I'll make a video on it. Kristina, what are some other things we can talk about when it comes to webinars that we might have missed?
Let's see. Obviously, it's what I've noticed, right? What I've noticed recently during the webinars is this: they're trying to sell the idea that online teaching is possible, right? And we've been doing it for a couple months now. We are very aware that it is possible, and it makes me think, why are they doing that? Why do you think they're trying to sell online teaching?
Are you just talking about that it's too easy, or it's everybody knows it already? Is that what you mean, or do you think there's a reason why they're pushing online teaching?
Yeah, I think the reason is financial, obviously. No schools, no books. Like they will sell the products, the online products, for the same price as the paper products. But then they will save on publishing costs, and then they're trying to convince the teachers, almost. This is my impression, almost to convince the teachers that teaching online is so easy and so good, that's coming from a publishing house.
I like conspiracy theory, Kristina. That's my favorite, Kristina's conspiracy theory, Kristina. Yeah, well, I definitely think so. But like with this big lockdown where all the schools closed, so much money goes into education. People have no idea. But for publishing houses, if they sell paper books or ebooks, ebooks is that's the way to go, because once you make a resource and it's online, you copy and paste and it's out there. If it's online teaching, you can sell courses, you can sell videos. So I do think things are going that way, but it will be tough for some schools, especially going into universities or private or schools specifically for language, like these publishing companies. Yeah, it's a very interesting time ahead, and I think it's good for them to push it, but it will move to a more hybrid approach in the future, right? Anyway, there's no stopping it, so it's better to be equipped for that hybrid approach in the future.
Yeah, definitely. It's just I'm a bit like I'm annoyed by that, because the teachers know what online teaching means for them. I mean, teachers, tell us, how do you feel teaching online? Do you prefer it? Or do you prefer teaching in real life? What do you prefer?
Yeah.
Or, maybe some people prefer online teaching.
Yeah. Well, I think what I want to say is that webinars are a really good way for teachers to learn new skills and to find out more information. What I would encourage
If
people,
they're good webinars,
if it's a good webinar, and hopefully, hopefully the quality of webinars in the future will improve too. I think that's something I'll look into is, instead of just making a video on it, perhaps, webinars are good. But yeah, it's something very interesting. Not just watching videos, but creating your own webinars in the future too.
Yes, because some universities, like if you have a university course, sometimes there is a recorded video of the lecture you need to watch and then do a task at home.
Yeah.
Which I find so passive,
Well,
it almost seems to me that there should be pop-out questions in the middle, like those ads. Are you still watching?
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Wow. Yeah, I think as learners are also going to have to learn new skills to be more accountable for their own teaching. But as teachers, we need to find better ways of reaching our students. But I like that idea of the pop-ups. Okay, Kristina, let's finish up. What do you want to talk about? Oh, yeah, guys, we're going to finish. Let's say we'll finish in a couple of minutes. What are the last things you want to do? Put it in the comments. What did you think about this, about webinars? How will you use it in the future, or anything you want to talk about? Because I think here at the end of the episode, our live stream, let's talk about anything you want to talk about.
Yes, let's talk about the sunny weather. Does anyone need to bathe their dog? We had a comment like that a few weeks ago. It cracked me up. I was like, oh my God, that's so funny. I'm sorry, I can't stay because I need to bathe my dog.
Oh yeah, I remember. That was good. Well, people have things to do, so I'm not surprised.
I went to the beach this morning, it was cloudy, and now when I have to sit here talking to you, it's sunny outside.
Okay. That sucks, but we're going to finish up soon. Hopefully you can get to the beach. I also I've summer vacations coming up, and I think I'll just go to the beach and sit at the beach and write a book or something, read and just hang out.
Wow. Sounds so dreamy, like
boring,
romantic. Right. What do I want to talk about? Oh, well, I'm a little bit of a show-off, so I can show you goodies. Oh, you know what these are?
What are those? Markers? Oh, it's markers.
Yeah, they're like a marker with it's magnetic, so you could, and there is an eraser on the top.
Yeah.
And I just got the boards as well, so yeah, they're heavy.
Well,
I've never used this brand, so it's like.
So it's for your students. Yeah, okay, that's really interesting. Oh, that's going to be
I've
fun.
never used show me boards before. They're like classic.
Well, what, the normal boards?
No, they call them show me boards.
Show me boards?
So, yeah, because you ask a question and then the students need to write and show you.
I play a lot of games with those too. I love playing games like that. Especially if you put students in groups and you ask them a question and they have to write down their answer. I played a lot of especially with PowerPoint games. You can use that a lot, or for a lot of things.
Yeah, we made
Mohammed.
We made like a.
Sorry, I'm just saying, Mohammed, thank you so much. Yeah, guys, put in your last comments. We're almost going to finish. We're just chatting a little bit. Kristina, about your channel, are you going to do anything interesting this week or in the future with your channel?
I saw your video about code words. What are they called?
Yeah, code words.
Is it code words though?
Yeah.
Because mine was code words with the little, letters, but I think it was something else.
Well, it's based on a board game called Code Words. The name of the website is different, but there's a board game called Code Words, which basically works like that.
So I really enjoyed watching that, and obviously your students are very good. So you have nothing to complain about. You tell them what to do, and they just do it without questioning.
They're fantastic students.
Like, oh my God, that never happens.
Yeah.
And I have a similar game that's called Secret Word that I used to use in classroom, in the classroom, and I was thinking about doing it with two of my friends online to see how it plays out.
Cool.
So yeah, maybe I will record that video and
post
it, and people can actually see how it works, and they can try using it in their online classroom. And
I'll be excited to see that.
It's a little bit requires less English than what you showed. You know what I mean? It's for lower level.
That's fine. So
okay. It's applicable for lower levels.
Well, I think as long as it helps people, and especially younger learners, we're always looking for more information. Okay, Mohammed, thank you so much. It's so good seeing you here. Vahid, I think, I'll make some more content for English learners and teachers in the future, maybe a month from now, so you'll have to wait a little bit. I'm live every week around this time. Mohammed says, could you give us a leading benefit of enjoying webinars these days? I think let's, if we finish it up, what we've talked about is, so what did we talk about? The benefits. What are the benefits of webinars, Kristina?
Good. It's reachable, it's easy, and you can leave anytime if you don't like it.
Excellent. How can you host a good webinar?
You have to know your stuff and be charming and exciting and engage your audience. Engage your audience,
let the students do it. Asamadin, it's so nice to see you here. I hope you learned something. With what else did we say? Okay, we also said that Atta, you said thank you indeed. You are both amazing. Sending love, respect. Very useful platform for teaching and learning. Atta, thank you so much. Those are very kind words. We appreciate it. We also said in the future that we'll see more webinars about what?
We would like to see more webinars about exploring the technology and taking it further. We spoke about adaptive testing, adaptive worksheets, virtual reality,
solving problems also, very common problems.
Yeah, troubleshooting and solving problems on the platforms.
Yeah.
Maybe virtual materials will become more accessible and straightforward. The online books and stuff. Because not all teachers get it. Because, so far they've always been, they recently started giving online books, but there's never a training on how to use the online books.
That's a great idea. Actually, I think there will be more videos or webinars on how to do it. We see it with a lot of technology now for for Zoom and other things too. They're hosting these weekly webinars to teach, and I think we'll see it more from schools and also publishers doing that.
I sincerely hope so, because you know, if they don't show this to teachers, teachers are missing out.
Yeah, yeah. As teachers, we should. Okay, Mohammed, I'll see you on LinkedIn. Mohammed, thank you so much for joining. Kristina, I think we're going to end there. I had a lovely time talking with you, and I hope we can chat again in the future.
Yes, me too. Thanks, everyone. Okay. Have a great rest of your Sunday, wherever you are in the world.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Vahid, Mohammed, Asamuddin, Atta, Samar, Nazli, Tatiana had some really good questions that I loved. My mom, Paul, don't self-emulate. Emulate. Martin was here quickly, and Elsa was there at the very start. Okay, everyone, have a fantastic day. Check out Kristina's channel, and I hope to see you next time. Vahid, thank you so much for all the questions. Even though you're not, even though maybe it's not about some, your job, but thank you so much for being here. Everyone, have a good day, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.